Alright, in this video I'd like to talk about things that I think would be good to do if you buy a Baja 5B or a 5T. Some upgrades I would probably recommend doing as soon as you can, or a lot of these could be optional too. But first thing I would do if you buy one of these, and I would have done this from the beginning if I had known, wouldn't be a bad idea to buy a kill switch. The reason I say that is I've had the unfortunate event of this thing taken off. I lost signal, or my servo failed. Low battery situation. I can't remember exactly what happened. It was a couple years ago. But it took off, and I think it's happened maybe once or twice, and then I finally got the sense enough to buy a kill switch. But it took off full throttle. The only control I had was steering. Took off one time down the street, probably going about 30 miles an hour at least, 40 maybe. I don't know if it hits 40, but at least 30. Hits the sign up the street, bends the sign, the street sign, and kinks my frame in half. So that cost me $125 for that frame. The kill switch, at least the one I bought when I got it, was about, I think, $60 or less. So it's well worth the money. It'll pay for itself over time, especially if you use it a lot. Another thing I'd upgrade that goes along with the kill switch is the throttle servo, because the stock servo is not, it's pretty good, but it's got plastic gears. It doesn't have quite the torque that it probably should have, and over time I had mine fail. So this is I don't know how long ago I got this. I got it a couple years ago. It's a high-tech servo. I think it was about $115, and it's got metal gears in it. So it's pretty substantial. I haven't had problems with it. I have not upgraded the steering servo. It seems adequate for the amount of use amount of abuse I've put at this, but I haven't driven it consistently. Because I bought this, I first got this, me and my dad got it back in 2010. So it's 8 years old, and it's in pretty good shape, other than the normal, brakes and breakdowns you have if you use these a lot. Other upgrades I would make, I would say, if you have a stock filter, the stock filter isn't too bad. One thing I would do, and I made the mistake because I wasn't very old at the time, is wash the filter regularly. If you take it off, in the sand or the dirt, silt, at least where I live, it's pretty sandy and dusty. In some areas I took it out in, and it clogs the filter up pretty quick. And if the filter isn't, seated correctly inside the little housing, sand can get up and get squeezed between and get in the carburetor and then get in your engine. And I ended up losing my original engine. Not necessarily the whole thing. I lost the top end at least, because the crank and everything, is all right, but what takes the fall when that happens is your cylinder and your piston and ring gets beat up, and it pretty much lost compression, I think, because it had ingested so much sand. But if you clean the filter regularly, and maybe if you take it out in a really dusty condition and you bring it home, you clean your car off, after you make sure everything around your air filter carburetor area is clean, pull your filter out, and if you're going to have it off for some time, maybe cover up your intake so nothing gets in there, and wash your filter out really well, re-oil it, and put it back in. Another thing I did that really helped was with my stock filters. I had I believe the company Outerwears made it. It's a little pre-filter you put on the outside, and it really helps keep the filter from getting caked with dust. Right now I've got it's an aftermarket filter I got from DDM, Dave's Discount Motors. It's got a kind of a low profile filter, but it's got a little outer filter, extra protection, and then a little velocity stack it clamps onto. This filter's pretty good. Another thing you might do if you like, performance, and add another cool factor really to this car, is to get a pipe, performance expansion pipe, essentially for two-stroke, because it really just improves the efficiency of the two-stroke just based on how it operates. And this is a DDM Dominator V2 pipe. I got this a couple years ago, but they've been making these for a little while. I had an original version, the original design, which doesn't have this coupler right here, or this slip fit, I guess, manifold or header pipe part. This has got a spring, but then it's got a silicone boot that kind of helps it from just leaking oil and stuff, because it's not sealed, it's just a slip fit. It allows you to kind of maneuver the pipe around and get it in the right space or spot between the plastics and the little roll cage. But I really one thing I like about this pipe, it's got, I guess, good low-end power. I mean, I haven't used any other real pipe, but it's got a good kind of mid-range snappy throttle response, I guess is how it's described on this pipe. It works well for this engine. This engine that I have in it, I replaced. It had the 23cc, because this isn't the SS, this is the RTR, I guess, version when we bought it. It had a 23cc engine. I still have the crank to that, but I bought this engine. This is a CY 27cc. It's pretty good. It's pretty powerful as is. At one point I had a 31cc, but it inhaled a bunch of dirt because my fault. It had the little insulator between the carburetor and the head wasn't seated all the way, and I didn't realize it until after it started, losing its performance, went down, and then I realized that it was done. And then I realized it was leaking. I found it was loose right there, and so that sucks. So you got to make sure you tighten up stuff on these things, because they'll loosen up a little bit, or use Loctite or something. Another thing you could do, if it's stock, tires, get better tires. The knobby tires that it comes with aren't too bad, but they're really built for soft terrain that's not super harsh on the tread. It's pretty good in, like, loose dirt or maybe sand, but not super rocky stuff, because it chews those little knobs off pretty quick. And on the street, pretty much I wore those out in the first couple, like, tank or two of gas if I used it on the street. These, if you don't have the little street tires, it really can, if you if you get carried away doing donuts or something, you just blow these tires off and completely wear them out. Like I had another set of these. These are, what are these? I think these are Proline. Is that what they are? Proline, yeah. Proline Badlands. They're a pretty decent tire. I also have a set of paddles because I like going to the sand dunes. I've gone maybe once or twice, but it's awesome in sand. That's where this thing is in its element. So a set of paddles. If you live near sand dunes, take it out to the sand dunes. It's pretty sweet. It's probably the best best terrain to use it in, or maybe a small track or something. That'd be fun. Yeah, these are Sandbuster paddles, like the HPI sand tire. And then what also might help is you don't need these, I guess, to really run in sand. You could just switch the rears out, but get a rib tire that has a rib down. This is actually a 5T. I got a 5T tire I got by accident, but it's pretty much the same for the Baja 5B and 5T. But the 5B tire they sell has it in the center, but the 5T's got it offset like that. But that's great. Oh, what else? Things to get, depending on the terrain you ride in or drive it in. A little pre-filter for these pull starts. When they're exposed to a lot of dirt and moisture and everything, sand, they get bound up pretty quickly because this is just an open this is just a open vent essentially, where the air is pulled in from the flywheel and just pushed over the shroud, or through the shroud, over the cylinder head and out the other side of the shroud. So this is where the air kind of comes in. So a pre-filter, a little cover that goes over this, really helps save these little pull starts, because I've worn out a couple of them. They'll wear out over time. The little pawl that's inside there will get jammed and get worn out and get bound, so you need to clean them out every once in a while. Pretty simple to do. 4 screws you pulled out, and then there's 1 screw that holds the mechanism in, the pawl and everything. So pre-filter for this, and then there's also pre-filter. Let's see, let me get a light here. It's got an orange block, or orange crankcase. But if you see down there, you put a little screen around your crankcase, and there are vents on that other side, and it kind of keeps dirt from getting clogged up in there. And it also, what's really important is it keeps little pebbles and rocks from getting sucked in there. And then I've had actually one of my flywheels on my other engine, it broke one of the fins off, or a couple of them. Probably, I think it was about, or just one. So that'll save your engine, your flywheel, I guess, from getting rocks thrown in it. Well, I think that's most of the stuff I would get if I had to buy it again, buy it new, and upgrade it from the beginning. That's what I would get. Yeah, well, these RC big scale gas vehicles are pretty fun to drive around. So I hope if you get one of these or have one, have fun. Thanks. Bye.